I think that we are good. There it is. I got the on-air button thing over there. So what's up? Welcome to Friday. Whew. It's Friday. It's almost St. Patrick's Day, and I'm ready to drink some beers. It's about that time, and it was a good week this week. How was your week? Hopefully it was a good week. Coincidentally, the topics that I have today was what I did all week today. Well, not all week, but I had a lot to do with the topics here, or pretty closely related. I didn't do anything specifically with CBD. That's one of the topics today, but I definitely did some stuff with kind of in the marijuana industry. So it's really related. All that stuff is really closely related, and SEO has been a focus for me this week too. So it's just kind of coincidence that the articles I found or came through my feeds this week were about that stuff. So it's fresh in my mind. So hopefully you get some really good nuggets of information today. And yeah, so without further ado, let me just revamp the structure here and what we do on this stream, or what I do here. Every week, I go through the most recent articles that have come through my feed that are related to small business marketing. And at the end of the week, I've picked out a couple. Sometimes it's 2, sometimes it's 6, depending on what I think is valuable. And I run through them during the video. Sometimes I'll read through them. Sometimes I'll just kind of summarize some of the information, all in an effort to try to give you, the business owner, information. I want to educate you. I want to make you a smarter business person. I want to help you make smart marketing decisions. And a way to do that is to inform yourself. So that's what we're going to be doing today. And today's topics are SEO. There's a new survey that came out that we're going to take a look at about what businesses think about SEO and what their plans are. And I will dissect what I think about SEO. And it's a lot. I have a lot of experience there, so that's going to be good. Also, we're going to be talking about CBD products and how they're getting more popular, and some of the hurdles that these companies are facing, and what I think is going to happen in the future. So I'll bust out my crystal ball, even though I don't really have a crystal ball. We'll have a fake imaginary crystal ball, and we'll try to think about what's going to happen here in the future. So now, the most important part about this video is it's Friday. It's Beer Friday, right? We got to drink beer during the stream. So today I'm drinking my Irish Stout that I made. I have homebrew beer. And this one is different than the one I did a couple weeks ago. So a couple weeks ago, I had the same beer that I just popped a bottle for. It was a little bit young, but I was like really excited about it. Now it's set in the bottle for a couple more weeks, and it's gotten way better. Plus, this one is this particular bottle. I use the bomber bottles. I should have brought one up, but they're like about a liter of beer in each bomber bottle. They kind of got the swing tops on them. And in some of them, I added mint. So I added like mint extract to them. And the way I did this was like typical marketer, like split testing my beer. Was in about half of the bottles I didn't touch. I just left them as an Irish Stout, and they're great. But the other half, I steadily increased the amount of mint in the different bottles. So I did like one set, I did 1 little drop, and another set I did 2, and then the final set I did 3. And the objective is to try to see how much mint is the right amount of mint, so that in the future I could, get that right. Because I was going to do just mint in all of it, but I decided to step it up. And this is actually kind of how you do advertising. Like with social media advertising, you kind of design 6 different advertising, ideas, different images or different copy or different videos, and then you test them in the market and see what people are interacting with, and then you go from there. So it's kind of related. I'm testing the market, I'm the market, and the people I force to drink my beer are the market. But we're going to figure out how much mint is the right amount of mint. This one has 2 drops in it. I think it might be just right. The 1 drop one was okay, but it was like barely there. This one's got 2 drops per like liter, 1.2 liters. And it's not bad. It's kind of good. All right, I'm going to set that down for a second. No more beer talk. let's get into the shit we're supposed to get into today. All right. So SEO. So I got this article. It came from Sison. Sison. And, I'm not going to spend too much time dissecting this article. I wanted to give them credit because this is the article that came through my feed, but they source a survey from Clutch, and that is what I'm going to be sourcing. So good job, Sison. You made the article happen. I'll leave the link, of course, in my YouTube, so feel free to read through this. They have their own opinion about the article, or excuse me, about the survey, but I'm going to flip to the actual survey. And of course, with any of these surveys, what I always do is I try to figure out a little bit about the company that created it so that we know where their kind of opinion is. So as we're reading it, we're understanding that their opinion is they're trying to portray a certain thing. So what Clutch is, I'm familiar with these type of firms. I'm not familiar with Clutch in particular, but what these dudes do is they kind of collect marketing firms and they help you make a decision with the firm. So they'll they'll ask you questions and they'll connect you with well-rated ones, kind of like a Yelp for marketing firms, so to speak. I don't know if they're based on reviews like Yelp. I think it's more like what services are there, and I'm sure there's probably some like paid stuff you can do with them to get your firm better placement or whatnot. So these guys have an incentive to convince you that marketing is good. Okay. Now, with that said, they have an incentive to convince you that using a marketing firm is good because that's their business model. Now, with that said, I think that when we think about SEO and content marketing, which is what this survey is about, I think the jury's out on this. The jury's in, not out. I think when you say, am I getting that right? If you say the jury's out, that means they're still making a decision, right? So the jury's in, they've made their decision, and SEO and content marketing, you don't really need any convincing to do that stuff because it is important. I think we all understand that. If you're not on that train, then get on it because you're totally missing the boat. That or retire, one of the two, because it's just too important not to have. So there isn't a lot of convincing you need to have for SEO. Now, I will say that in the article, they do a little bit of, the slant here is kind of towards the end when they're saying, look, people think they don't need to hire SEO companies, but maybe they should think about it. And to Clutch's credit, they don't deliberately try to pitch you on this. They're like, hey, look, a lot of companies think that they can do it internally, but we're suggesting that you really take a look at it a different way. And they provide some quotes and they do a good job there. So no beef with Clutch and their salesmanship. I think it's actually a brilliant piece of content. So anyways, what I wanted to do is kind of go through some of the findings from their survey, elaborate on them, read a little bit from it, and talk to you about my experience with SEO. And to give you an idea about my experience, I started doing SEO back in 2014. I started working for a firm that their predominant service was SEO. They did SEO writing, and they had a whole system involved for getting companies listed on the first page of Google. And I learned a ton about it. And ever since then, SEO has just become part of the marketing mix for my whole entire marketing career. Even when I launched my own businesses that weren't a marketing business, SEO was a massive part of it. So I've been doing it for a long time. I've seen kind of what works, and I've heard many, many horror stories from businesses that have hired SEO companies and just aren't getting results. And the problem is that SEO is super expensive and it's hard to do, and it's difficult to measure results and these type of things. So there's a lot of companies out there that are having people, and there's a lot of companies doing the right thing. I think our firm is one of them. But anyways, the point here is to try to give you a little, to let you know that, I do kind of know what I'm talking about when it comes to SEO stuff. So let's go through the survey and let's kind of break it down. So title of the survey, or title of the article: Small businesses plan to create SEO strategies in 2019, indicating that they are adapting to shifts in consumer search and purchasing behavior. Most of these small businesses also opt to invest in PPC advertising. So they go on to say that SEO is crucial for small businesses. They surveyed 529 small business owners and managers about their approach to SEO and pay-per-click. We define small businesses as 1 to 500 employees. So they surveyed 529 businesses that are in the 1 to 500 employee range. What they found was that small businesses intend to have SEO strategy in place either in 2019 or in the future and depend on in-house staff to execute SEO strategies. Small businesses also heavily invest in PPC and recognize the importance of content marketing and voice search marketing. Small businesses can use this report to adapt to search marketing trends and be competitive in the digital landscape. So what are their findings? These are the findings summarized. So what I'm going to do is, I'll read through the findings. Okay, so I'm going to read through these kind of 6-point findings, and then I'm going to go through and just kind of touch on them in more detail. And I would recommend taking a look at this article. A lot of what I'm going to do is just kind of reread the stuff that's here because it's really good. So let's just get through it. So our findings. Finding number 1, more than 1/3, 36% of small businesses have an SEO strategy. An additional 23% plan to have an SEO strategy in 2019. Okay. Finding number 2, social media marketing, 63% is the most common SEO effort for small businesses, followed by mobile-friendly websites and keyword research. Mobile-friendly being at 54% and keyword research being at 51%. Nearly half of small businesses, 48%, invest in content marketing for SEO, an increase from 16% from 2018. So I guess they did the survey back in 2018, and it was 16% less back then, or they did it in 2018. And it's increased 16% over the year, which is good. And I'll elaborate on that in a second. So let's continue on with the findings. Finding number 4, more than half of small businesses, 54%, depend on in-house staff for SEO services, nearly double the number that hire an SEO agency. So that one's really, really intense, and I'm going to spend some time dissecting that one, but that one's interesting. Finding number 5, traffic from search engines, 25%, is the primary metric small businesses track to determine the success of their SEO strategies, followed by leads and conversions, 19%, and backlinks, 14%. So that one, I don't want to spend a whole lot of time diving into it just because I think it's really strange how that whole section read out. And, for time constraints, I want to keep this, less than an hour long of this video. So I'm not going to dive into that one too much in the video, but the next one is kind of interesting though, which we'll probably just kind of give an anecdote towards the end here, depending on how fast we get through the first 4. Number 6, 60% of small businesses with SEO strategies also invest in PPC advertising, an increase of 15% from 2018. An additional 17% plan to invest in PPC in 2019. And there is a good anecdote in there. So I remember reading that portion. And there is a good anecdote because of the way that search pages are structured nowadays and the rising popularity of mobile search. So we'll get into that in a second. So let's start with number 1. And before we do that, let's have a sip of beer. Okay, so small businesses, more than 1/3 of small businesses, 36%, already have an SEO strategy going into 2019. And this chart kind of shows the results here. So let's just look at the chart. So they asked the question, do businesses have an SEO strategy in place? 36% said, yeah. 23% said, no, but we're planning on it in 2019. 15% said, no, but we're planning on it in 2020. And 15% were like, SEO sucks. No, they're unlikely to in the future. And this is a bit concerning for me because, maybe there's some lack of understanding of what SEO is with the survey respondents. I think 36% seems so low. Like if 36% of businesses, only 36%, 1/3, had an SEO strategy, that's very poor, right? Like you're not doing anything for SEO. You don't have a website. You're not concerned at all about your search rankings. Maybe some of these businesses are like really localized niches that already have placement just because they put up a website, which can happen. Like if you're selling like something that nobody else is selling and you put up a website, when you search for that, you're probably going to come up because you're the only person. Even at the local level, that's kind of why I remember, kind of as a sales guy going around to local SEO, like local businesses, and trying to pitch them on SEO. And that was one of the hardest objections to get over. It's like, well, I already ranked, dude. I'm in a micro niche. They didn't say macro niche. They just said, I don't need it. But and then I walked away without a sale and had to figure something else out. But I think maybe that's a little bit of this. I just think that there should be more businesses that are focusing on SEO. It's positive to hear that in 2019 there's going to be more businesses that are at least saying they're going to focus on it. The other concerning part about this is that people are surveyed in 2019 or the beginning of 2019, and they're like, "Oh, I'm putting it off till 2020." And that part is the scary part. So if you're in this group and you're saying, "Well, it's not really a big focus for me, maybe later this year or next year," here's what I would say to you. Don't do that. You need to focus on SEO, and here's the primary reason why you should focus on it now. Because it takes a long time. Hands down, SEO is one of the hardest marketing channels to prove ROI with, because it takes a while to even get results. Okay, you could be doing everything right for months and still not rank, depending on how competitive your industry is, right? Like if you're in the financial advisor industry, or you're in the legal industry, like accident law, or you're in what's another real kind of popular service industry? If you're in the marketing industry, right, and you're selling, marketing services, it's a super competitive. So the top ranking spots are hard to get into. They're even harder to get into if you are not currently ranking at all. So if you're new, it's not impossible to beat those people. There's always a way to do it, but it's going to take you a long time. So if you're planning to start your SEO efforts, later in 2019 or in 2020, you may not have results until mid 2020 or even 2021. So that's the kind of what I would tell you about that, is that if you're in that grouping, you should really consider jumping up that time frame to kind of focus on this stuff now, because you really need to do it. And yeah, so let's continue on with this stuff, because I have a lot of other things I want to say, but I think they're going to kind of come out as we're going through here. So the next big finding is that small businesses focus on social media and mobile-friendly websites for SEO. Nearly 2/3 of small businesses invest in social media marketing for SEO. And I'm just going to read you this next part because it's exactly what I would say. This is somewhat surprising. Social media and SEO have a strong correlation, but there is little data to suggest that social media directly impacts search rankings. And they're absolutely right. So 63% of small businesses are saying, yeah, I'm doing social media marketing. That's how I'm helping my SEO. And although when I tell clients about SEO, social media is absolutely part of it, it's not the whole thing at all. In fact, social media is really just a distribution channel to get kind of credibility online for your site and traffic, right? Traffic's good for SEO. The more traffic you have, the more traffic you get, right? But it's not like there's no, it's kind of funny to explain that, because there's no real data we can point to that says, well, if you post 10 times a week, you're going to, increase this much. And it's not really there. There's no real strong data that proves that. We kind of know it as marketers because we've seen it. We've seen the companies that don't do that stuff and the companies that do, and the ones that do tend to have better rankings. But, for businesses to be wholeheartedly on that train as like their primary SEO activity, concerning. Okay, I would say it's part of the mix here, but it's like a supplemental tool. It's like if you don't have the other core stuff going, which is really your on-page SEO, which consists of making sure your title tags, your meta descriptions, your image alt tags, all that stuff is really set up. Your content strategy, which is your articles you're producing every single month, you don't have those geared correctly, and you don't have other distribution channels like blog websites, emails, and social media as part of that mix, then social media alone isn't going to save you, So like I said, that number is a little bit concerning. let's take a look at some of this other stuff. And I'm kind of scrolling through here because I want to make sure I get the most valuable nuggets through this. So this is a chart that shows the most popular small business SEO activities according to the survey. There's social media at 63%, mobile-friendly website at 54%, and mobile-friendly website is a good thing to focus on, right? Just in the last couple of years, Google has made its shift to focus on mobile friendliness as a primary driver of search ranking. So if your website doesn't perform well on mobile, then you're going to not rank as high. Okay, so focusing on that, absolutely. If that's where you need to put your marketing dollars to, or your SEO dollars to, that's where you should go first. Getting your mobile site right. There's a lot of tools that can help you with that. A lot of WordPress themes come mobilely enhanced, are fully responsive. All the kind of GUI editors, the what do they call them? WYSIWYG, I think people call them, like Wix and Squarespace and those ones. They're all mobile responsive. But there's, like I said, there's other stuff you can do that makes your site more mobile friendly. Like if you have really heavy images, like they're really like big file sizes, they take a long time to load, that can make your site less mobile friendly. So, there's other things you can do besides just having a responsive website. But I guess kind of to bring this, I'm going off on a tangent there, but to bring this back full circle, the idea is to make sure your site is mobile friendly for SEO. That would be a good effort there. Keyword research, I find is strange because that's just like, do they mean like research and then nothing else? Or do they mean like keyword research and then implementing that keyword research in your site? Just doing the research doesn't do anything for you. One of the things we do as SEO companies is we build like a keyword silo. Well, we'll look at a tool like SEMrush or Google Keyword Planner or something like that, and we'll look at all the phrases that are related to your main service. So if you're a cleaning service, a commercial cleaning service, we'll look at commercial cleaning and then all the associated phrases with that and how much traffic they get in your area. And then we'll put together a plan on which phrases to implement into your site. So I hope that's what they mean by keyword research, and not just like, oh, I did the research. I know what phrases are important, but am I putting all that stuff on the site? I hope that's what they mean. Content marketing is a big one. That actually is one I focus on a lot these days, and it's one of the hardest ones. So content marketing is like, your blog articles you put on your site, and then the distribution that you put on those blog articles. Now, articles don't necessarily need to be like a full-on blog. It could be a sales page, it could be a video, it could be an image, like what do they call those things? An infographic and those sort of things. But that's all content, right? And content marketing is part of content development. So you got to make sure that, if we're thinking about SEO, you got to make sure that you're building that content that's keyword friendly. It's focusing on the phrases you want to focus on, and then it's being distributed through your networks appropriately. So we're talking like that's where social media comes into play. So like Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, all that stuff's getting distributed out that way. Blogger websites and so on and so forth. So content's a big part of that. In fact, the sites that do that kind of content development and distribution, they're going to rank way faster. Google and other search engines 100% use like fresh content as a ledger for how authoritative your site is. The more authoritative and more credible your site is, the better you're going to rank. One way to do that is by producing regular content. I'll give you an example. I won't name names, but I talked to a company weeks ago that they came and said, hey, we need SEO services. We're not ranking anymore. We're not on the first page. We said, okay, well, how long ago was it that you were ranking? They're like, like back in 2018-ish, 2017. It was actually 2017. It was like November of 2017. And we were able to correlate that the minute they lost ranking was the same month that they stopped producing articles for their blog. Coincidence? I think not. Anyways, all right, let's continue on down this. I'm taking a lot of time. This is why I said I had to skip some of this stuff, because SEO is something I could talk about for a while. So anyways, Let's read the next section here. Small businesses invest in content marketing and voice search optimization reflects modern search trends. So we talked about that. So 48%, that is up from 16, it was 16% lower than last year. So that's good. So businesses are recognizing that content marketing is a thing. Here's a note. If you're one of those businesses that isn't invested in the idea of content marketing, you're behind. Everyone else is jumping on this. So your competitors are figuring it out. If you're in a highly competitive industry and your competitors aren't doing this, there's your opportunity, right? Voice search is the interesting one. Okay, let me see. Yep, they kind of talk about this. So voice search is the interesting one. I just said that, but I'm going to say it. I said it twice because I'm watching this one, semi-closely here because of the rise of these AIs. And we talked about it last week that Alexa is is one of the most popular ones for marketers to be focused on. And I think that is an important thing because let me unpack this a little bit. So Alexa is connected to Amazon. And that idea is kind of, e-commerce like, right? Like you're associating Amazon, the two platforms, Alexa and Amazon, like the shopping network. And that alone drives marketing, ideas. Okay. When we think about that, though, as a marketer, what we think of is, well, how do you rank, right? Like, how do you get to be the answer when someone says, Alexa, I need toothpaste, or, Alexa, what's I need a restaurant near me. I'm looking for pizza or whatever, right? How do you get to be number one there? And the jury is out on this one. I think I got it right this time. The jury is out because we're just not sure exactly how these are working. I have some ideas on what I think. I'm not saying I'm 100% right, but I think I'm onto something here that the reviews, like your online, your reputation, matter a lot to these voice search engines. And I've kind of read that around. I'm not just coming up with this idea on my own. I've kind of picked it up as I've been reading about this stuff. And I think the reviews matter a lot. Think about it. If you go Alexa or Google or whatever, find me some pizza near me. What do you think the parameters are for them giving you the answer? Of course, proximity is one, but what if you have 3 pizza places within a 3-mile radius of you, right? I think the next most important parameter is credibility, and that means reviews. Okay, so if you've got 200 reviews and you got a 4.5 stars, I think the likelihood of Alexa or Google listing you first is way higher. Okay, and I think the same is with the Amazon platform. They're going to rank, excuse me, I burped beer. It's mint. I think the Amazon platform is going to give you the higher ranked stuff. And even the Google platform is like if you have a product or a service, you can have reviews on Google. So I think that reviews are a huge part of that. So I would correlate voice search and reputation management as something very, very closely related. But it absolutely is going to become more popular. I guess that's the real point here is that voice search is going to get more popular. And there's going to be like a battle for how to rank on voice search. So stay tuned. We'll get there. All right. So I think this is like the big last point that I want to make with this article. And then we're going to move on. No, there's one more. There's one more I remember. So here's the deal. 1 second. Got to drink some beer because my voice is getting so raspy. Can you hear it? I need to hydrate. I don't know if I'm sold on the mint in this particular beer. It's kind of good. I was like experimenting, but it's all right. Okay. So they surveyed people, they surveyed businesses, and over half of these businesses said that they invest in SEO, or over half of the small businesses that invest in SEO. So these people that are investing. Half use software like SEMrush and Moz, and 54% of them, I guess that's what that means, that 54% are using in-house staff, and they're using software like SEMrush and Moz. And SEMrush and Moz are great tools. I use them, or we use them for our clients. I think they're great if you understand what you're getting with those, right? It's like, You can look at Google Analytics all day, but if you really don't know how to discern that information, it's pointless to you. It's useless. Like, if you've ever been at the hospital and you see those little things beeping, it's cool, but I don't really know how the hell that shit works. I could sure have one. I could hook one up and I could go to bed and hook it up, but do I understand what that is? No, probably not. But so here's the stuff that I want to talk about with this, and I'm concerned because so many businesses are saying that in-house is their way to go for SEO services. And I'm just going to read through some of this stuff because I think it's good. So let's start here. Fewer small businesses rely on experts to ideate and execute their SEO strategies. 42% hire an SEO consultant or freelancer, and 28% use an SEO agency. So 54% use in-house, 42% hire an SEO consultant or freelancer, and 28% hire an SEO agency. In-house employees for SEO appeal to small businesses for two main reasons: cost and control. When it comes to hiring an outside agency, many small businesses simply struggle with limited budgets. They do the best they can with their internal resources. Cost of SEO companies often includes a base retainer fee and charges for other services provided, which makes hiring an SEO agency unaffordable for small businesses with limited budgets. Fair. Jakishan Panchel, is it? Oh, Jakishan? Sorry, Jakishan. Manages SEO strategy for E2M, a digital marketing company in San Diego. He attributes the preference for in-house employees to the amount of control it allows small businesses to maintain over their SEO activities. More quotes. In-house offers more control over planning, content creation, and budgeting. Panchel. It's Jakishan. Gosh, your name's strange, dude. Sorry. But Jakishan. Anyways, in-house offers more control over planning and creation. The in-house SEO team probably has the best understanding of the brand voice, company culture, and availability of resources. And I think he's probably right there, that the allure of control over your content, over your website is good. You want to have that as a business. The combination of cost and control make having an in-house SEO team appealing for small businesses. And this is where the slant comes in, right? This is the clutch slant, because they want to say, hey, maybe you should reconsider this and think about a firm for multiple reasons. And I'm going to read you this section because I think that they're accurate on this, even though I know they're trying to pitch that. And even though that I have a bias too, because I do SEO services as well, I think this is a valuable note to listen to as a business owner. So let me read you through it. So in-house staff can handle some small business SEO services, but must consider the time commitment. In-house staff are capable of handling most SEO services, like social media marketing, producing high-quality content, earning links, conducting keywords research. The value of having in-house staff perform SEO services, though, should be weighed against time they could spend on other firm-building activities and the industry experience of an SEO agency. It's always a trade-off. Agencies can bring a wealth of experience from other clients and leverage their relationship to accelerate SEO performance. Using in-house resources for SEO tethers your success to the time your staff spends on SEO and their understanding of best practices. And that's really the gist of this, right? Like, if you have your in-house staff working on SEO, are they truly an SEO expert? Okay, do they really understand all this stuff? Maybe you have a full marketing department, and maybe that full marketing department does understand that. Your CMO does have an understanding of this stuff. Great. Okay, but if you don't have that and you're relying on your website guy to do it, or yourself, and you're kind of reading stuff online and you're using tools like SEMrush and Moz, and you're like, I kind of get it. I think that you're kind of putting yourself at a detriment there, because you're not going to have the same amount of experience as someone who's been doing this for a long time and does only marketing. Like, we do SEO a lot, and we've seen what works and what doesn't work a lot in a lot of different industries. So that experience can be leveraged if you hire a firm like ours, okay, or if you hire any firm, okay, that really has an understanding of this stuff. Also, I would argue that if you have that team in place, even if you did have a CMO, or if you had a marketing person or a marketing coordinator or something like that in place that kind of understood SEO, I would still recommend considering an agency or a freelancer or some type of consultant, because the time, what I would recommend you do with your time differently is that you should be involved in community management. Okay, so what I mean by that is it's much more effective for you to be online on social media and blog networks, commenting, being part of communities, sharing posts, going on to Instagram and commenting on posts and liking things and being part of the community that you're in your industry and in your niche, rather than focusing on the nitty gritty stuff that is SEO. You should put that in the hands of somebody who really knows where to dedicate the time and what's going to be most effective. And I think that you would have much better results as a business. Of course, there's always situations. There's always situations that are different. Like I said, if you've got a chief marketing officer that really understands this stuff and has the time to do it and the staff to support them, maybe. But even then, it may be more cost effective for you to take that staff, put it, targeting something else, and just hire an SEO consultant to do only SEO for you. All right, so I'm going to skip over this next part because, like I said, it gets really kind of in the weeds here. And if we're not already in the weeds enough, I don't want to go any further in the weeds. I just want to make a small caveat about what they said with PPC advertising, because I think it is valuable. So in the survey, they said 60% of small businesses with an SEO strategy also invest in PPC advertising. Okay, so that's a big number. That's like 2/3 almost of people of these businesses are also doing PPC advertising. And the point they make, let me see here. Yeah, they have a screenshot. So the point they make is that Google, for example, is making it harder and harder to be above the fold and on the first page. They're putting all their stuff on the first page. So they got the answer box. Usually this would be an ad right here. So you have like 3 ads. And then you've got videos, and then below that, who always ranks well for a lot of stuff is like Amazon, Yelp, Foursquare. These like conglomerate companies that like are they have a lot of traffic. They're super visited. I don't know where I was going with that, but they're always going to rank. It's hard you can never really compete with them, right? So that alone makes it hard to get into those remaining 7 spots on the front page. It used to be you can get into all 10. Now there's like really 7, 8-ish, depending on your niche. And then that's all below the fold. So the way to get into that top fold area is with advertising. You can pay Google to be in that one of those top 3 spots. And I think more and more businesses are seeing that, especially ones that want immediate results. So I advocate for SEO. I think it's a very important strategy, but that's the long game. That's the 6, 8, 12-month game. Okay, but if you want immediate results right now, you want to flip a switch and bring traffic to your site right now, PPC is the way to go with it, right? So, all right. I've had enough talking about SEO. I got to move on. We're getting in the weeds. It's getting too intense. Let's close this stuff out. We're going to talk about something more fun. We're going to talk about weed. We're going to talk about CBD and marijuana. But before that, I'm drinking some beer. This is homebrew. I brew my own beer, people. It's great. Although, sometimes when you brew that much of it, you got to give it away to friends because it's difficult to drink 5 gallons of the same beer. Go buy 5 gallons of beer and drink it. It's tough. At least for me, I like drinking different kinds of beer. So it's difficult. So I give it away, some of it. Anyways, all right. Let's set that guy down. Let's talk about CBD. So I found this article, came through my feeds. It's from Glossy. I think Glossy is like a fashion company. So it's not really one of the normal business articles that I get hands on, but I thought it was interesting. They're saying that CBD brands take South by Southwest. And South by Southwest is it's in Austin. It's like an expo, kind of like CES, where like technology people, big brands, they come and like debut new stuff and they showcase their products, and it's a networking thing. It's like a big expo. It's one of the bigger ones. I think there's like you can camp for South by Southwest. It's like a big deal. And Austin's kind of this place where they're branded as kind of like this future-focused, progressive area. So it's a perfect place for South by Southwest. Anyways, at South by Southwest, apparently the popularity of CBD stuff is there. So they're like, you can get cocktails like Moscow Mules. You can do like, I think they said like oils and lotions and all types of stuff with CBD. And if you're not familiar with what CBD is, that I don't really know. What is it? It's they have the name here. It's like cannabinoid something. Essentially, it's the same plant. It comes from like marijuana plants, right? And forgive me, people that are like really knowledgeable about this stuff. I'm not really. So it comes from marijuana plants. It comes from the same thing, cannabis plants, and but it's not full on like THC. It doesn't have the same active ingredients that weed does. You can't really get high off of it, but it has a lot of medicinal benefits like pain relief and nausea and like that type of stuff. So there's a lot of benefits to using it, or supposed benefits, and that's why it's getting more and more popular now. The question about it is that is it legal, right? Like, that's kind of what they talk about in the article. I'm not going to read through all of it. I'll leave the link so you can, but that's kind of what some of the questions people have. Is this legal? Like, what's up with it? Can I actually use it? Where can I buy it? And it's interesting. You can buy CBD in a lot of states now. I don't know off the top of my head the whole list, but I know that, in the states where marijuana is legal, where full-on cannabis is legal, like Nevada or Colorado or whatnot, you can. It's absolutely, you can get it. But in other states where marijuana isn't legal, you can still get it because of this kind of gray line in between, THC and CBD. And it's getting more and more popular. I see the trend like going up, right? The part of this article that I thought was interesting and worth mentioning for marketing purposes is this little quote. We're still limited to what we can do with marketing. This is somebody that they interviewed at South by Southwest. The company said it's about to launch a major nationwide retailer distributor and a distributor this month. Declining what to say. They didn't say where it was, but what they're saying is that it's difficult to market. And this is what I want to talk about here for a couple of minutes. I've talked to brands in the marijuana industry. I've talked to dispensaries. I've talked to people in similar industries like vaping is one of these ones that is difficult to advertise. I've talked to supplement companies like health cure type companies, weight loss, sleep aid, like these type of groupings or these type of niches or industries. And the reason is because the major digital advertising platforms, namely Google and Facebook, those guys make up a massive majority of all the advertising that takes place on the internet is Facebook and Google. I think it's something like 75% or more, something like that is on those two. They do not allow you to advertise that stuff. So I'll pull you up an article from CNBC. I just pulled this up to show you that, this is legit, right? Like marijuana and CBD companies can't advertise on Facebook. So they're getting creative, so I'm going to get into that in a second, but Facebook and Google do not allow you to advertise this stuff. Like, look, I'll leave this link in the YouTube too. This is unapproved pharmaceutical supplements for advertising policies on Google. CBD's on there, right? There's a lot of other stuff here that's grouped into this. Like, I think one of the ones down here I thought was funny is like lose weight coffee. Like, I don't know if you remember seeing this. I don't know how long ago it was, maybe like 2 years or something. There was like this coffee that got super popular for helping people lose weight. And, Google doesn't allow you to advertise it. And they're touching about all kinds of supplements, not just CBD. And I think it has to do with kind of the gray line between like an endorsement about effectiveness of these cures or health benefits and that type of stuff. And that's the thing about CBD, from what I understand, is that, it's kind of, people say it's good for these things, but it's not really classified as a full-on like cure or medicine and that sort of stuff for as like a pharmaceutical. Okay. So they don't allow you to advertise. Now, if you can't advertise on Facebook or Google, then your options are really limited, especially for a small business. So it's kind of, it puts these CBD companies in between a rock and a hard place. And I totally get it. Vaping companies are the same. Like and think about how popular vaping is right now, like e-cigarettes and that sort of thing. Can't advertise on Facebook. Now, a lot of that part of it, vaping, has to do with your like advertising to kids. I know there's some of that with like the regular cannabis industry too. Like you have to advertise at 21 plus. And although there are tools on Facebook and Google to allow you to kind of filter out who's seeing your ad, it's not a 100% guarantee. Somebody can just say that they're 21 on these platforms. And I get it. I understand that. And I certainly don't want, if I had kids, I wouldn't want them seeing ads for like cherry flavored e-cigarettes, candy flavored vapes and stuff like that. It'd be tough, right? Same with CBD and cannabis, but at the same time, we allow alcohol to be advertised in these areas and bars and that sort of stuff. So, I guess the real question is this going to change moving forward? And I think that, ask me this question a year ago and I would have said, yeah, it's totally going to change. It's getting too popular. This is right when Nevada legalized marijuana, and it's just like, oh, it's like everyone's on the hype train. But I'm not sure. Okay. And I'm kind of readjusting my opinion here because, and I'm going to make a differentiation here. So CBD is kind of classified as one of these like health supplements. Okay. And any health supplement right now, it's difficult to advertise on Facebook and Google. You have to like do really creative things. Like you have to write an article about, the health benefits of CBD and then push people to that article. Now, even that might get flagged, but sometimes you can slip it through the approval process. And then on that article, you could link to your products at the bottom of it, or it could just be on your site that sells the products or whatever. Now, I say that that's kind of gray hat because eventually that stuff gets taken down. It's only a matter of time until you get pulled off. And I'm not really a super fan of gray hat stuff because of the amount of time and effort you have to put into like maintaining the gray hat status. Like you got to watch for these articles to get up and down and pull off and whatever. I'm more of a fan of, all right, let's do the good stuff right. But if you're trying to run a CBD business, if 75, 80% of your advertising channels are cut off, what do you do? So that's the real question is, what do you do? And I think there's a few answers out there. Like here's one, I just did a little bit of searching and found one. This is a company, Adclick Media, where they'll, for a fee, they'll get you placed on like, what does it say here? Place your ads on thousands of influential hemp and CBD websites. So what they'll do is you can design like a PPC ad and a graphic ad that gets placed on marijuana websites, right? Like hemp and CBD websites, which is okay. It's part of it. But I'm sure that there's like a whole other target segment of people that aren't subscribing to those websites you want to target. So the other one that's popular with these type of brands is influencer marketing. So what that is you'll pay someone that has a large following on like Instagram or YouTube or something like that to product place, or you sponsor bits of their segment. And that's really popular with these type of companies because you can, get away with that pretty well. And influencer marketing is like the Wild West right now. Like you can do almost anything with influencer marketing. That's changing, companies and the FCC is getting smarter about this stuff, and there's going to be all these regulations that come on influencer marketing and within the next year or so. So I'll be interested to see how that impacts the CBD thing. Maybe it will, maybe it won't, or this whole like kind of gray zone pharmaceuticals zone. But right now, though, if you're in this type of industry, you're selling sleep aids, CBD, or this type of stuff, influencer marketing would be an absolute thing I would recommend. It's probably one of the primary sources. You could also dip into stuff like this. Another thing to think of is like events. I was reading that too. It's a great idea. If you could sponsor an event, let's say if there's concerts or that type of stuff in your local areas or where you're trying to sell, get a banner up, put up a booth, do something like that. That would work. Absolutely. Like we do a thing here, and I think a lot of cities do it. It's called First Friday. And every First Friday, there's like a whole section of booths and like interactive kind of vendor areas for stuff like this, like the CBD stuff and marijuana promotion. And it's, it's a big area. There's a lot of money over there. And it's probably because these guys can't advertise anywhere else. It's difficult. So anyways, that's my note on the CBD stuff. Hopefully you liked it. And I think that's going to wrap it up for me here today. It's Friday. It's about 3:30 on a Friday. I'm going to call it quits, I think. I'm going to keep drinking my beer, and I'm going to go have some fun for St. Patrick's Day weekend. Yeah, I'm going to do some Irish shit. Drink some green beer or something. So, all right. I appreciate you guys' time, and we'll see you next week. Have a good one.